Chicago rapper Lil Durk could be linked to a second murder-for-hire plot, this time in Chicago. These are images of the gunman who shot and killed Stefan Mack in 2022. Prosecutors say Mack was outside the Youth Peace Center of Roseland when he was gunned down. The FBI linked the two men charged with Mack's murder to Durk using texts and confidential informants. The feds believe this murder was revenge for the death of Lil Durk's brother.
The plot has thickened for Lil Durk as new court documents have emerged, linking his name to a murder from years ago. The timing couldn't be worse, as Durk is already facing serious charges, and the feds are diving deep into past cases, bringing up murders many had forgotten. One of the most shocking connections is the murder of Stefan Mack, who was gunned down in 2022 outside the Youth Peace Center of Roseland in Chicago. Authorities initially believed it was a random act, but new allegations suggest it was a calculated hit carried out by two gunmen who ambushed Mack. Now, federal documents reveal that Lil Durk may have played a role in the crime, with allegations that he offered money to anyone willing to target members of Mack's gang. This new twist has raised serious questions about Durk's involvement, making it look like a pattern of violent incidents is starting to emerge. Additionally, another name has surfaced in the conversation: Octavia Redmond, OTF Jam's baby mama, who tragically lost her life earlier in 2024. Could these cases be connected? And how deep does Durk's involvement really run? Stay tuned, as this story is only getting darker. While these allegations are serious, it's important to note that Lil Durk has not been formally charged in connection with Stefan Mack's murder yet. However, the weight of these accusations adds another significant obstacle to the rapper's already complex legal situation. Durk is also entangled in another major case in Los Angeles, where prosecutors have charged him with funding a murder-for-hire plot targeting rapper Quando Rondo. With both cases hanging over his head, Durk's legal team recently attempted to secure his release on a $3.3 million bond, but the judge denied the request, citing the severity of the charges. Durk's name continues to surface in connection with Mack's murder, and now federal investigators are suggesting that his own social media posts might be part of the story. The situation has become even more explosive as authorities are linking Durk to the aftermath of Mack's death, pointing to cryptic Instagram posts and song lyrics as potential evidence. Just after the shooting, Durk shared an Instagram story showing an image of OTF, his crew, with the caption "Only the family." The timing and tone of the post have raised suspicions, leading investigators to believe it could be a thinly veiled celebration of Mack's murder. And it didn't stop there. Just a month later, Lil Durk dropped a song titled "Aha," which is now under federal scrutiny for potentially referencing Mack's death. The lyrics, according to authorities, contain subtle hints about what went down, even though Durk has never directly admitted any involvement. The feds aren't relying solely on social media, and music court documents reveal they've also dug through phone records, firearm purchases, and text messages to build their case. One crucial text message found on the phone of a suspect tied to Mack's murder allegedly asks, "Did Durk give you that money?" suggesting a payment for the hit. For those not familiar, the Gangster Disciples are one of Chicago's most notorious street and prison gangs, known for their violent rivalries, particularly with the Black Disciples. Mack was reportedly connected to a Gangster Disciples faction known as Smashville. It's a group that had ongoing feuds with Durk's OTF camp. As it stands, Lil Durk remains in custody, with federal charges piling up and new details emerging in court. The question now is whether the evidence against him will hold up. Whether the evidence holds up or not, the use of Lil Durk's social media and music in the federal case highlights how fame doesn't always shield you from the past. But why would Durk risk it all to orchestrate such a bold, high-profile move? Word on the street is that it ties back to the tragic loss of his brother, a moment that reportedly set him on a relentless quest for vengeance. The tragic murder of Durk's brother, Dante Banks Jr., better known as D-Thing, sent shockwaves through the streets of Chicago and the music world. On June 6, 2021, D-Thing was shot outside Club O nightclub in Harvey, Illinois. The shooting occurred late on a Saturday night, just after 12:20 a.m. Tensions were high, and a Harvey police officer patrolling the area had spotted someone with a gun before things escalated outside the club. An altercation broke out, and in the chaos, shots rang out, with D-Thing being struck in the head. Adding to the mayhem, Officer Muhammad was also injured during the gunfire, though it remains unclear who shot him. The violence didn't stop there. Just hours later, another shooting took place on West 155th Street, leaving another person dead in what police believe could have been a retaliatory hit. The loss hit Durk hard, fueling his apparent desire for revenge. The streets quickly started buzzing with rumors about retaliation and what it would mean for the already intense gang feuds in Chicago. For Durk, DT or D-Thing was a pillar of his life and career, a key figure in his Only the Family movement. Losing him was personal, and in the world Durk came from, the streets don't forget. When D-Thing was killed, whispers began circulating about how the rapper would respond. This was the kind of tragedy that demanded payback. Fast forward to January 7, 2022, when Stefan Mack was ambushed and gunned down. Investigators say Mack's murder was anything but random. According to federal documents, it was a calculated move, a direct retaliation for Ding's killing. The feds allege that Durk funded Mack's assassination, orchestrating it as part of a revenge plot against the gangster disciples, who were believed to be responsible for D-Thing's death. The feud between Durk's OTF crew and factions of the gangster disciples runs deep, rooted in the long-standing gang rivalries that have shaped Chicago's streets for decades. Federal investigators claim that Durk offered money to ensure street justice for his brother. The rapper went on a warpath, seeking revenge for his brother's murder. The feds believe this spiraled into a murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo, a rival linked to the killing of Durk's close associate, King Von, in 2020. The tension between Durk's camp and Quando Rondo's circle only intensified by the time Rondo's cousin, Sava Robinson, was killed in 2022. The feds claim this was part of a broader revenge plot Durk allegedly orchestrated in response to the losses of both King Von and D-Thing. No matter how hard Durk tries to stay ahead of the charges, they keep piling up one after another. The real question is, can he outrun them? Or are the streets finally through with him? The situation is made even more complicated by rumors that someone from Durk's own camp may have flipped, turning everything upside down. Reports suggest an OTF member might have been wearing a wire and feeding information straight to the feds. The name everyone's pointing to is OTF Jam. According to court filings, Jam, a trusted member of Lil Durk's Only the Family crew, has allegedly been working with federal agents for years. This wasn't just a small betrayal, it was a calculated move. Jam, who got out in 2022 after serving 12 years for attempted murder, is now at the center of a storm that could unravel everything Durk has built. Jam is now being accused of providing key evidence that has Durk fighting for his freedom. And it doesn't stop there. Reports suggest Jam didn't just hand over some minor details, he allegedly went all in, directly tying Durk to orchestrating the plot. This wasn't the feds getting lucky, this was a carefully built case, with Jam reportedly being one of their main insiders. His betrayal has added a significant layer of complexity to Durk's already mounting legal troubles, and the stakes have never been higher.
Did 12 years.
12
got
years?
out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000.
Right.
This. Made mention that ain't no smut on his name, he ain't never been a rat. Caught a gun case, but eventually he fled.
This bombshell has sparked a wildfire on the internet, with sleuths already piecing together clues about who these so-called truth tellers could be. Adding fuel to the fire, Wack 100 has stepped in, dropping his own expose that sheds light on one of these individuals. The details emerging from the informant's testimonies are nothing short of gripping, so get ready to dive into this intense drama. It turns out Lil Durk has been caught threatening witnesses, and the revelations from his indictment are shining a harsh light on the OTF boss. While Durk has publicly embraced a more peaceful image through his conversion to Islam, the evidence tells a different story. According to an affidavit filed by FBI Special Agent Sarah Corcoran, Durkio has been using intimidation tactics to silence those cooperating with the feds. The affidavit, packed with damning details, reveals that the FBI's investigation uncovered direct threats to OTF members who decided to cooperate. For safety reasons, the identities of these witnesses remain confidential, but the document confirms that both the witnesses and their families have faced serious threats. These attempts to influence their participation in the case suggest Durk was playing a high-stakes game to protect himself. As the FBI tightens its net, speculation swirls around two potential witnesses, leaving the public glued to every twist in this unfolding saga. The involvement of OTF Jam and Brick Baby in this case is turning heads, especially considering that Brick Baby isn't even part of OTF or from Chicago. But that hasn't stopped one of his rivals from linking him to the ongoing investigation. Enter Wack 100, who dropped a bombshell during a podcast with Adam 22. According to Wack's sources, Brick Baby might be working with the feds. This unexpected twist is raising eyebrows across the industry, as Wack 100's revelations suggest that Brick Baby could be playing a much larger role in the case than anyone anticipated. With this new piece of the puzzle, the tension continues to mount as the story takes yet another unpredictable turn. WAC 100 continued to unravel the mystery, revealing that there's one person who could potentially connect Brick Baby to the case. This individual, however, has been on the run since the day OTF members were arrested in Chicago. The feds had their sights set on him too and came knocking at his door in Los Angeles, but unfortunately he wasn't home. WAC described how the authorities kicked in his door but found nothing. He was out on the streets, evading capture. According to the indictment, this co-conspirator, referred to as Co-Conspirator 4, was closely tied to another significant piece of the puzzle. It turns out Co-Conspirator 4 was allegedly the one who tipped off authorities about Quando Rondo's location in California, where he was reportedly staying at a hotel in LA. This new revelation has many wondering if Co-Conspirator 4 might be the key to cracking open the case, making it one of the most intense chapters yet. However, in February 2023, Brick Baby took to social media and made a bold statement, declaring that no one could say OTF didn't slide.
And it wasn't until February of 2023 that Brick Baby goes on the internet with Flacco and says, out of nowhere, the world is oblivious to this. I guess they can't say OTF didn't slide for King Von anymore.
In the video, Brick Baby went a step further, revealing that OTF had slid for King Von, implying they had taken action against Quando Rondo's cousin in retaliation for Von's death. But this wasn't the first time Brick Baby spilled the beans about the hit. He also hopped on a track where he seemingly laid it all out, rapping about the actions he claimed OTF took. In the song, he mentions Durk trying to hide, but ultimately they turned him into a blunt and dropped 100 shots. He even taunts, saying, "Go dig your partner up," referring to the fatal retaliation. When Brick Baby was picked up by the feds, everyone initially assumed it was because he had caught a gun charge, but as the details began to surface, it became clear that the real reason they were after him was to seize his cell phone. The feds may have been looking for evidence that he was sharing Quando Rondo's location with Durk's hitman, potentially linking him to the violent acts that followed. It turns out that Brick Baby and Quando Rondo were actually repping the same gang, which adds another layer of complexity to the story. What's even more suspicious is that Brick Baby is a known gang member with a history of jail time. So for the feds to catch him with an Alaska 47 in June 2023 and not charge him immediately raised serious questions. Fans weren't buying it either. One comment read, "Dude got caught with an Alaska 47 by the feds and still hasn't been to court?" Make that make sense. Others even joked, suggesting Brick Baby might be telling given the strange circumstances surrounding his case. The situation was made even murkier when the case seemingly disappeared without a trace. This led to further speculation that Brick Baby might have played a role in dropping Quando Rondo's location to his ops. After the shooting, Rondo himself took to social media to denounce his gang, claiming they didn't have his back when things went south. Meanwhile, WAC 100's allegations, though unsubstantiated, seemed to be gaining more traction as one of the key informants was rumored to have been a snitch, and that informant might very well be OTF Jam. By now, everyone has heard about OTF Jam and the bizarre case of betrayal. Allegedly, Jam wore a wire to record OTF members confessing to crimes, a claim he eventually addressed on social media. He tried to clear his name, telling fans to hold off on calling him a snitch until they saw his name on official police paperwork. His social media post read, "Casey J. Hester aka OTF Jam is my real name. Until you see that name on the paperwork, don't at me." Despite his denial, things worsened for OTF Jam when no one from the OTF camp backed him up. Everyone was too busy shouting "Free Durk" on the internet, but nobody defended Jam. Then, Jam took it a step further, accusing Durk of snitching on him. According to Jam, Durk called him out on a track, saying, "Call me a rat or a snitch," but he raps snitch on them all the time. Jam was referring to the line in a song where Durk allegedly rapped, "Jam, get out that jam, I give him 50. Ain't got to ask again." This track apparently referred to Jam's time in jail, where he served 12 years for attempted murder. Jam even confirmed that Durk had given him $50,000 upon his release in February 2022. The whole situation is now spiraling, with OTF Jam, Durk, Brick Baby, and the feds all tangled in a web of allegations, betrayals, and questionable actions. The truth is becoming harder to discern, and the case is growing more complicated by the day. Turns out, after the feds heard Durk rapping about OTF Jam catching bodies, they started zeroing in on him, waiting for him to slip up and land back in jail. Jam even posted a cryptic message addressing the situation, saying, "Who snitched on who? He snitched on me on a song, police all up on me." After that, it's clear that the feds were already tracking his every move, and once they had that lead, they were just waiting for him to make a mistake. But what really raised eyebrows was that Durk allegedly refused to cover Jam's legal fees or bail when he was arrested. This revelation came from popular hip-hop commentator DJ Academics, who revealed that Jam wasn't too happy with Durk for leaving him to fend for himself.
Are you saying that he made a threat towards Durk? I've been holding you down because I heard you say something about like his baby mama called Durk for a lawyer, and Durk may have like brushed it off, and they're like, yo, you're not supposed to brush off my call when I need something. Like, I'm the guy who does the dirt fee.
Only time will tell whether Brick and Jam are telling the truth, but one thing is clear as for Durk, many people in the industry had already warned him about his crew and his activities in the streets. Figures like 50 Cent and Big Meech tried to steer him away from that lifestyle. Despite these warnings, Durk chose not to heed the advice, and even some of his closest homies, like Chief Keef and Lil Reese, seem to have distanced themselves from him. Big Meech, a notorious figure in the streets who knows a thing or two about the consequences of a criminal life, recently had his say. A leaked video of a conversation between Big Meech and Durk went viral, where Meech urged Durk to separate himself from the streets, saying, "You stay around it, you going to be in it." Big Meech, who was once at the helm of the Black Mafia family BMF, a drug organization that operated across multiple U.S. cities, is no stranger to the consequences of a life in crime. In the early 2000s, Meech and his brother were arrested, and their criminal empire came to an end as the federal agents launched a joint investigation into their operations. BMF had expanded its cocaine trade beyond Detroit, establishing a presence in major cities like Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Miami. Their rise to wealth caught the attention of federal authorities, and eventually they were taken down by the DEA and FBI. It was a cautionary tale for anyone involved in the streets, but Durk, despite being warned, continued down that path. Despite attempts to stay off the feds' radar, the Black Mafia family BMF continued their high-profile activities, which inevitably drew attention. Similar to Lil Durk and OTF, a shooting in a different state eventually led to multiple deaths, triggering federal investigations. In 2003, a shootout in Atlanta's Buckhead nightclub district brought the BMF into the national spotlight. This incident resulted in the deaths of 2 men, including Diddy's bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones. The violent nature of the shooting increased law enforcement's focus on the BMF, and the investigation gained traction. Federal agents utilized the same tactics that were later employed on Lil Durk wiretaps, surveillance, and informants. These methods provided crucial intelligence on BMF's operations and their connections to international cocaine suppliers. The scope of the organization's criminal activities was revealed, showing just how expansive the network was. In 2005, a series of coordinated raids across multiple states, including Georgia, Michigan, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, and California, targeted key BMF members and associates. These raids resulted in over 150 indictments, effectively dismantling the organization's drug empire. The evidence against BMF was overwhelming, and Big Meech, one of the heads of the operation, was charged with operating a continuing criminal enterprise CCE, which carried a potential life sentence. Faced with the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison, Big Meech pled guilty in 2007 to CCE charges and money laundering related to the drug trade. This marked the beginning of the end for BMF, as the organization's criminal empire collapsed under the weight of the federal investigation. Big Meech had hoped for a more lenient sentence, anticipating a minimum of 20 years in prison. However, the severity of his crimes, along with the overwhelming evidence presented by prosecutors, led to a much harsher sentence. On September 12, 2008, Big Meech was sentenced to 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole under the federal system. His case served as a stark reminder of how the legal system can come down hard on those involved in large-scale criminal enterprises. But Big Meech wasn't the only influential figure attempting to give Lil Durk advice about the dangers of street life. 50 Cent, who had his own close ties to Big Meech, also tried to steer Durk away from the dangerous path he was on. 50 Cent, who had nearly been killed in the early 2000s due to a street beef, recently revealed that he had given Lil Durk advice on staying out of the streets. It turns out that even back then, someone in Lil Durk's crew was involved in some shady behavior. The Chicago rapper confided in 50 Cent that there was a leak within his inner circle. In 2021, Lil Durk and his girlfriend, India Cox, became victims of a harrowing home invasion that escalated into a shootout. According to reports, several unidentified individuals broke into Durk's residence in the Brazelton neighborhood near Atlanta early on the morning of July 11th. A gunfight ensued, but fortunately, Durk and India were unharmed as they fought back and the suspects fled the scene. This is where things get even more interesting. The feds, no strangers to listening in on suspicious activities, caught wind of Brick Baby's words and immediately took notice. His lyrics seemed to confirm what they had suspected all along. Now, with the authorities aware of his open admissions, it seems Brick Baby's involvement in the case might be far more significant than initially thought. There have been rumors circulating that Lil Reese and Lil Durk are not on good terms. While Reese didn't directly show support for Durk during his arrest, he posted a photo of himself in jail alongside Durk's song Love for the Streets. This raised eyebrows among fans, as many expected him to publicly back his fellow Chicago rapper. The fallout between Lil Durk and Lil Reese seems to stem from multiple issues. In addition to the personal drama involving Reese's family, there's also a professional conflict that added fuel to their strained relationship. After the Cam Capone interview dropped, where Lil Reese discussed the robbery with Durk, it was reported that Durk unfollowed Reese on social media. This action signified a clear break between the two, reinforcing the idea that the interview and Reese's revelations about their past street activities deeply affected their relationship. Unfollowing someone in the public eye, especially after a conflict, is often seen as a way to distance oneself and cut ties, and in this case, it seemed to be Durk's response to Reese's public disclosure. It seems the betrayal from Lil Durk's circle doesn't stop with Lil Reese. Chief Keef, another prominent Chicago rapper, has also distanced himself from Durk after his arrest. Reports claim that Chief Keef purchased a $500,000 chain around the same time Durk was arrested but has not publicly shown any support for him. This lack of support from Keef and other members of Durk's circle highlights the growing tensions and possible rifts within Chicago's rap scene, suggesting that even long-standing relationships can break down when street politics and personal conflicts come into play. Lil Durk's efforts to rebrand himself and shed his past have been significant, especially with his public embrace of Islam and his attempts to distance himself from street life. In August 2024, he made a powerful statement on social media, declaring that he no longer identifies with gang life, choosing instead to be defined as a man, a father, and a 100% Muslim. This shift was not just about changing his identity, but about setting a new course for his life. Durk emphasized that while his music would continue to reflect his experiences, his personal goals had changed, and he urged fans to follow him on this new chapter of his life. His efforts to distance himself from his past were also reflected in his decision to go to rehab and clear up his criminal record, sending a message of personal growth and redemption. Lil Durk's efforts to turn his life around have been both impactful and admirable. In 2020, he took a monumental step by founding the Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, a nonprofit aimed at uplifting and empowering individuals within underserved neighborhoods. The foundation focuses on providing resources and support to those often overlooked, and its initiatives reflect Durk's desire to create lasting, positive change in his community. Lil Durk's dedication to community service and social change was widely recognized, especially in his hometown. In recognition of his work with the Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, Durk received several prestigious honors. Weeks before his arrest, he was celebrated for his efforts to uplift Chicago's underserved neighborhoods. Durk's advocacy for change in Cook County, Illinois, earned him keys to the city from multiple municipalities, including the village of Broadview and the village of Bellwood. But the plot thickens even further. After the shooting, the feds reportedly told Quando Rondo that the gang he was affiliated with, the Rollin 60s Crips, had set him up. This adds another layer of betrayal to the story, as it suggests that the very people Rondo thought he could trust might have played a role in orchestrating the violence that nearly ended his life. With so many moving pieces, it's becoming clear that the feds are uncovering a far more complicated and dangerous web than anyone could have imagined. The fallout between Lil Durk and Lil Reese seems to stem from multiple issues. In addition to the personal drama involving Reese's family, there's also a professional conflict that added fuel to their strained relationship. Durk reportedly called Reese a rat after Reese went on the Cam Capone podcast and disclosed some street business. During the interview, Reese revealed that he and Durk had been involved in a robbery, which Durk apparently took issue with, especially since revealing such details goes against the unspoken rules of street loyalty and silence. As his chapters unfold, the world will continue to watch and perhaps learn from the evolution of a man determined to rewrite his story.